Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Natea and this is Nesthetics, where I talk about topics that I care about and you should care about too if you choose. Today I am giving my review of season 2 of the Proud Family Louder and Prouder that was released in February 2023. Overall, I actually enjoyed this season a lot more than the first one, and it covered a lot of topics including sexism, friendship, autism, and colorism, which we are going to get into because I think that they dropped the ball completely on covering that issue. But as usual with my reviews, I give my critiques and compliments of the show, starting with the critiques and then ending with the compliments so we can end on a good note. So let's get into my critiques of the season first. So my first critique is that this show missed the mark when it came to certain topics and didn't go as in-depth as I would have liked them to. For example, with the first episode of this season titled Old Town Road Part 2, which was a continuation of the season finale from season 1, I really would have liked if they would have explained the setting a little bit more. This episode is set in a black town in Oklahoma, and I feel like black towns don't get a lot of representation on screen, and not a lot of people know what American black towns are. And I feel like they could have gave us a little bit more background about what black towns are and like gave us that in these episodes instead of just like kind of like glancing over it. Like the only reason why I knew the episode was in a black town is because I study black towns. I recently finished writing a thesis for my master's degree about black towns, and I released a video last week about it. So if you want to check that video out after this one, it will be in the description box or it'll be linked in the cards above. So I don't think I would have known that this episode was in a black town unless I had done this prior research. So I wish that they would have gone more in depth about like what black towns are and like the importance of them and when they were founded, because I feel like that's really important history. I like that they included black towns, but I wish they would have went a little bit more in depth. So similarly, in episode 6, The End of Innocence, they totally missed the mark when it came to the topic of colorism and like preferences. It felt like they were just like tiptoeing around the conversation and they didn't really get to the point. Like I didn't like how this episode was structured in the way that they tried to talk about the topic. Like I feel like the creators of this show saw the criticism about colorism for the Proud Family and they were like, okay, we got something for y'all this season. Like, okay, we gonna make an episode about colorism. And they thought they ate, but they didn't. Like y'all left a whole bunch of food on your plate. Y'all did not eat. Y'all did not eat at all. Not with this episode. So I was really disappointed because I'm like, okay, y'all tried, but y'all didn't really hit it. Y'all didn't hit it like y'all could have. Like this episode was centered around Zoe, and it was centered around her friends being mad at her because this new black student named Noah, he only likes white girls and had preferences for white girls, and he chose to ask Zoe out to this dance because of his preference. But the whole episode was centered around being mad at Zoe, and it's like I know that in real life there are some non-black women who are preferences and they act like more superior to black women when they find out that they're a black man's preference. But in this scenario, like we know Zoe is not like that. So they like, I don't know, they just like totally just disregarded Zoe and like just casted her out. And I feel like the episode just didn't get to the point of colorism. Like y'all were mad at Zoe when y'all should have been addressing the person who has the preferences for white girls. Like I just wish they would have did the episode a different way. And I also didn't like how they made Zoe undesirable. Like Zoe is like the nerd of the group. Like she's the one that is very intelligent and she's very always into her academics and books and stuff like that. And they tried to make her seem like she was undesirable, like saying that he wouldn't pick her because she's a nerd and stuff like that. Like, don't do Zoe like that, okay? Just because she's intelligent and she's a quote-unquote nerd does not mean she's not desirable. So I don't like how they did Zoe like that, because Zoe don't be doing nothing to nobody. Like, Zoe is like one of the chillest friends in the group. She is the chillest friend in the group. Like, besides La Cienega and Dejanay, who always be throwing shade, and like, Zoe is the chillest one in the group. So I don't like how they did her like that. And they really could have did this episode differently. And if they really wanted to do an episode about colorism, they could have did an episode between Penny and Dejanay and did some type of colorism episode that way. So I commend the Proud Family for trying to make an episode about colorism and preferences, but y'all just missed the mark. Y'all missed the mark. So now that brings me to my second critique. Speaking of Dejanay and Penny, as always, it's probably gonna always be a critique. We need to throw Dejanay and Penny's friendship out the window. Like, it just needs to go, because this is not a friendship. This has never been a friendship. It's clear that Dejanay is the protagonist and antagonist in this show. Like, it is possible for someone to be both. So it's just clear that she's both to Penny. So we see in episode 3, titled Curved, that Penny and some of the other students, Maya and Zoe, and I feel like it was one more, but I can't remember, we're on the debate team, and Zoe lost her voice, so they needed a replacement. Dejanay ends up replacing Zoe, and she does really well on the debate team. This is another episode where we really get to see Dejanay show her talents, because remember in the original Proud Family when Dejanay was good at spoken word and poetry, and now we see she's good at debate, because we know Dejanay like to talk. So clearly her talents involve her using her voice. So we get to see a little bit more of Dejanay's talents. Okay, we like that. But then Dejanay ends up getting with this other guy on the opposing debate team, who is voiced by Chance the Rapper, which is like one of my favorite artists. And his name is Darius. And basically Darius ends up playing her. Like, he steals their team's notes so he can, like, you know, cheat and know what they're going to say on their debate. And Penny gets jealous when Dejanay gets a boyfriend. And it's like, Penny, were you not in like episode 2, like spending all hours of the night with your boyfriend and sneaking in the house, and weren't you spending time with your boyfriend and we didn't see Dejanay getting jealous? Like, all of a sudden Dejanay gets a boyfriend, Penny is jealous, talking about you not spending enough time with me. Like, girl, you be spending more time with your boyfriend than Dejanay. So like, what are you talking about? And I understand that like Darius was playing Dejanay, but it's like, can we let Dejanay have like a good love story for once? Like, can we just let her have an unproblematic love story for once? And then Dejanay explained to Penny, like, you know, I haven't been dating or even liked anyone since Sticky left, because you know Sticky was the only guy that she really liked in the Proud Family, and now he's not in these episodes anymore. But it's just like, Penny was jealous, and I just don't like their friendship. Like, we just need to throw their friendship away. And then on the other hand, like, it was their friend-iversary. So Penny remembered it was their friend-iversary, but Dejanay didn't even remember. So Penny gets Dejanay a gift, and then Dejanay was like, oh, I forgot. And then she ends up giving the gift to her boo thing, Darius. And then her and Darius start roasting Penny about her forehead, because it's like a picture of Penny, I think, and Dejanay in this gift. So it's just like, Dejanay, she not right either. Penny and Dejanay, they just not good friends to each other. And then of course they solve their conflict at the end, and they always end their conflicts saying, we still cool? Yeah, like the other side of the pillow. Like, no, y'all are not cool. Like, this is not cool. Y'all do not need to be friends. But I did like how Darius was calling Dejanay Deja Bay. Like, I thought that was so cute, but also funny. Like, that is such a perfect like nickname for Dejanay from her boo thing. Like, I just thought that was so cute. So those were my critiques of the season, and now I would like to talk about my compliments. So my first compliment is that I did enjoy how they did tackle some issues in this season, such as autism, the Juneteenth episode, And also the first episode with Black towns. As I mentioned earlier, you know, Black towns don't really get represented on screen like that. And I really did appreciate that at least the Proud Family is putting some representation of Black towns on the screen. So I appreciate that. I also appreciated the episode about autism and just looking at how like parents react to autism and debunking like some of the myths about autism, like really putting in that message that people with autism are not unintelligent, they don't have less ability. Like I really like how this episode was structured and how they talked about autism centered around BB, one of the twins. And then also with the Juneteenth episode, how they talked about like ancestral guidance and how the ancestor Emily was leading Maya to like her diary and the history of Smithville, which later got changed to Emilyville, and just the ancestral guidance of learning like the racist history of Smithville. So I really liked how the Proud Family did tackle important issues, even though they didn't hit all the issues like on the head. Like I think they did do good with other issues in this show, and I thought they were very relevant. My second compliment is that I always love that the Proud Family is just unapologetically Black, and also it's just like a ode to Black culture and Black experiences. For example, with episode 2, Grandma's Hands, like this episode was very like nostalgic for me, especially for me to have lost my grandmother last year. Just watching this episode and like watching Penny having to go to Sugar Mama's house and spend the day with her, like it just gave me like a lot of memories about my time with my grandmother that I used to spend during the summer. So I really like how the Proud Family always just like has these Easter eggs and always plays on our nostalgia and always just like puts in those really important elements of Black culture and Black experiences. So Grandma's Hands was an episode that I really appreciated. I feel like the generation of grandmothers that Sugar Mama is from, maybe grandmothers who were born before the 1960s, it's like I realize we're coming to a time where their generation is starting to pass, and it's so interesting how the next generation of grandmas are different, at least thinking about like Black grandmothers. Like Black grandmothers, like the old school grandmothers, like they was the church going, the cooking, the everything. They put you in your place, set you straight, they don't play, all of that. So it's like that generation of grandmothers is passing, and that is kind of sad to think about, because I believe that grandmothers, and as generations pass, like we are different. Like grandmothers are different now. So I really just appreciated that they had this episode centered around Penny being at her grandma's house. And they also used the song Grandma's Hands, which is a classic song by Bill Withers, and I think that's his name, Bill Withers. And that song just explains like the power of a grandmother's hands. And yeah, I just really liked that episode. And I also liked like at the beginning of I think episode 3, Curved, where it was the friendiversary of Penny and Dejanay. The episode starts off with Penny writing in her journal, and she's writing to the Moesha music. Like Moesha was also my show growing up, and I just love all the 90s Black television show, being a 90s kid. So love all the 90s television shows, and plus one of the creators of the Proud Family is also creator of Moesha, so it makes sense why they would add that little Easter egg in there. But yeah, I just love the addition of that Moesha music and Penny journaling to the Moesha music as if she was Moesha. Other Easter eggs that I saw throughout the season was just like, you know, those popular sayings in Black families, like I'm not one of your little friends. And I just love the addition of just like little things like that, and also references to other Black media. I think it was episode 6, the one that was supposed to be about colorism, where they all dressed up as Disney princesses, and Dejanay, she dressed up as Cinderella, and they was like the Brandy edition, and they were like, yeah, because y'all know like the Brandy edition of Cinderella, and then there's, you know, the regular like white Cinderella. So I like those little Easter eggs like that. And also when Penny came down in her dress, Oscar sang as she came down, and I believe that's a reference to Coming to America, when like the man was singing as like the queen came in, like, this is your queen. So I love little references like that they throw in, and little Easter eggs. And also the last episode, Juneteenth, Oscar had like this Free Huey sign while they were protesting, and that's a reference to like the Free Huey campaign in the 1960s led by the Black Panther Party. So just like knowing all this Black history and Black culture, it's so nice to see it referenced in a show. So overall, the Proud Family just always does a good job of being unapologetically Black. That's how they were in the original, and that's still how they are now, because it is supposed to be louder and prouder. So I just love that the Proud Family has always stuck to just being unapologetically Black, and just always throwing those Easter eggs in there into Black culture and Black experiences. Like, I just love it. So those were all my compliments and critiques, and now I just want to run through some of my random and final thoughts about this season. First, I liked episode 7 with the peanuts, because it like alluded back to the Proud Family movie with the peanut clones and all of that, and sometimes I forget about that movie, and that movie is actually really good and funny. So I liked how that episode a reference back to the Proud Family movie. I also like how they featured the Chang triplets in episode 3, showing us how they redesigned them and how they don't look stereotypical anymore, and how they mentioned like the model minority myth. We didn't see a lot from the Gross sisters this season. We saw them in like one episode, and like all of them can talk now, and I thought that was kind of strange. It's fine, but I was just like, that's kind of strange. All of them can talk now. Like, okay, that's cool. I still wish Sticky would come back to this show, even though like it's not dependent on, I mean, it's probably not dependent on the creators. It's more so dependent on the voice actor, who is going through some things in his personal life. So I really wish Sticky would come back though. And if they are doing future seasons, I would love for his character with the original voice actor to come back eventually. Wizard Kelly is like the biggest Black capitalist, and he owns everything. Like, he's the mayor now. Like, everything just revolves around Wizard Kelly and the Proud Family, and he don't care. He don't care about nothing. When they were about to take down that statue of the founder of Smithville, who owned slaves, like, Wizard Kelly was like, that happened so long ago, we don't care. Wizard Kelly don't care. He got all them. He basically owns the location, the setting of the Proud Family. Like, Wizard Kelly is just a big Black capitalist. Like, that's what he is. I don't really like the structure of how the seasons are coming out. I know we're in this phase of like streaming, where a show it releases all of its episodes at once, and then we gotta wait like a year for the next season to come out. So I like how it's coming out in February, you know, during Black History Month. And last year we got the episodes week by week, but this year we just got all the episodes at once. And I don't really like that structure, and I don't really like that structure with other shows in general either. It's like, once the season comes out, we binge watch it real quick, and then we forget about it until like the next year when the next season comes out. I miss the old days when like the episodes would come out week by week. So I wish that they would return to that, because now like every time they have a new season, I'm just questioning, like, is it getting renewed? Are we gonna keep going? Like, how many seasons are we gonna have of the Proud Family Louder and Prouder? Like, I'm just curious if it's gonna continue to go. I would actually like to see the show continue, and to see you know, it evolve even more, because I feel like season 2, they evolved from season 1, so I feel like they can just continue to get better from here. But I just don't really like the structure of them like releasing the episodes once a year in February, because I had totally forgot about the Proud Family Louder and Prouder until this year again, when they said it was coming out with season 2. So I would like them to release the episodes differently. And then my last final thought is that I saw some comments about the Proud Family and just other shows in general, kids shows, having like this woke agenda, and how these shows are tackling complex topics, and kids should just be able to be kids and enjoy being kids and not have to watch TV shows that talk about racism and complex topics. And those kind of comments really bother me, because it's like, why don't you want your child to learn about anti-racist topics, anti-sexist topics, LGBTQ plus topics? Like, why don't you want your child to learn about these things? And it's like, clearly in the home, you're not teaching your child to be anti-racist. You're not teaching your child to be inclusive. If you have a problem with it being on screen and the television teaching your child these things, clearly you don't want to teach your child those things if you don't want them watching shows that have a so-called woke agenda. I feel like if you were already teaching your child to be anti-racist and all these other things, then it wouldn't be a problem showing them on screen, because your child will already know these things. As a Black person, and I know other people of color, like, we learn racism from experience, and we also get taught about it at home, because our families and the people who raise us want to make sure that they prepare us to go out into the world as Black people and other people of color. So it's like, we have to learn these things. We never had to learn these things through a television screen. Your child has the privilege to learn racism through a television screen and not at home. That's a problem. But anyways, those are all of my thoughts about the season 2. Let me know your thoughts about season 2 of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Do you think they're doing too much with this woke agenda, or do you think it's fine? You know, let me know your thoughts, especially about that colorism episode and the preferences. What did y'all think about that episode? Did y'all think they did a good job? Because I didn't think they did a good job. But, you know, that's just my opinion. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.